All right, I'm showing you this because I just wanted to let you know that I feel qualified to speak of this. I was in the semiconductor industry, and all this stuff is about semiconductors and the way molecules bond and all this business. And I mean, I still refer to this stuff today. This is not something that I don't understand. I understand this deeply, and there's a lot of information here, and it's all deeply packed with formulas, and I mean, there's nothing here that you're going to figure out in a couple of minutes. Now, my point is that when I studied all this stuff for the way molecules concentrate and semiconductors form, I realized that things were not as we were told about the matter that's in the ground and everywhere, literally. So I work with molecules and atoms, and I feel 100% qualified to speak of this. And the problem I'm having is that there is no one else that's qualified. I get people that say, oh, I'm a paleontologist, I'm an archaeologist, I'm a fossil guy, I don't know anything, I'm a geologist, all I know about is rocks, or everything is a rock, I'm a biologist, everything's a piece of meat. I'm an anatomist, it's all structure, or I'm a chemist, and all I know about is molecules. Well, you have to know every single one of those things to put this together, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. Okay, my Mud Fossil friends, Roger, Mud Fossil University, looking at Ayers Rock, Uluru, as the Aboriginal people would call this, and that is a giant heart. What kind of a creature, I have no clue, but I will show you the details, why I make these statements. And this is a giant heart, and the area surrounding this is just saturated with blood. Saturated. Now, let's look at the details. Okay, this is Ayers Rock, and that is one of the flexible plumbing tubings that runs through the heart. And I'm doing this on Ayers Rock. Angie76, Angie076 sent me a request if I would take a look at this, and I've been meaning to post about this anyway for quite some time. I have done a lot of research on it, and it is a heart. It's a heart. There's just no question about it. So, Angie, this is for you, my friend, and I hope it helps you. And this is when the water runs. Now, apparently there must have been some wet season, and because it forces the water up through the arterial passageways. In every single creature's body had arterial passageways. They're open, wide open plumbing and tubing. The blood is very, very fluid. It just blows right out of there. It mixes with water and it leaves the plumbing open to be used to pump water to the surface if the groundwater is sufficient, the pressure. If it isn't, then they dry. Well, this time it's not dry. Alright, now these are where the heartstrings attach inside the heart. They come up from inside and they lock in these little dots all the way down. I'm going to show you a heart that I have here that will demonstrate what I'm saying. Now the black is from where there's some form of different type of oxidation is happening. That's a FeO2 type of blood. So these little holes, and I will show you on mine, they have white dots and they have black dots. White dot, black dot, white dot, black dot. And that's part of the heart structure. Again, Ayers. And this time the same shot is it, but they are dry because they don't have enough water pressure in the ground. And I don't think it's ever going to hardly get wet again because the ground has lost so much of its water table and its fluids. I mean, everything's been pumped out of the ground. They can pump out as far as I can see. All right, this is what your heart made of, and they have these big crevices and things, and there's plumbing and tubings inside there that you really can't see easily, but this is what's happened there. It started to erode away, and when you get past the outsider foot, you'll see all kinds of fibers that are inside of here, and that's what you're seeing in some of those shots of Ayers. This is a heart extremely eroded down to those fibrous bands. You see these little circular bands? You saw that in the other heart anatomy where they're all wrapped around and they have all the fibers. That's what happened here, only that's eroded completely away. Alright, this is the way the fiber bundles wrap inside of a heart. Alright, what you're looking at there is cardiac tissue. There's all these little stripes. I have some better shots, but this just shows that it erodes away from the exterior muscle walls into the fibrous tissue that is the muscle interior. All right, that's cardiac muscle, and that's the kind of cardiac muscle that is in a heart, and that all of those things are able to restrict and pull in. That's why you have all these tiny little pores in here, because that is the nature of the way muscles work. Now the fibrous things, the fibrous stuff is still here, but most of the red blood and all that has eroded away from it, and the clay types of tissues that make up these muscular structures are eroding away. That's why the whole place is just saturated in blood, the whole area there. Unbelievable. And that's the texture of, it's your heart is just a really serious mass of muscles, and that is what you're seeing here, and it is eroded away because they are primarily red, fleshy, clay type structures, very prone to eroding. Now anybody that understands mud fossils knows about the red and the black, and the red is always the artery type blood, and the black is always the vein type blood, and we can obviously see it running down here in this structure. Now these are also, it's just so obvious. I don't have to really talk too much about it. You can see all the little tiny holes in here. That's what happens in your body tissues. They need to be infiltrated with blood, and that's how they do it. And all these little particles in here, these are all like mineral inclusions that are in your body that give structure to your tissues. It's just the way it works. This appears to be the thickness of the exterior wall here, and now we're heading into some form of an interior chamber, which is broken and eroded away and fallen off. But this is where your muscle is, and it's all eroding away. It's probably was, who knows how thick it was originally. And you can see over here, you can see the muscle tissues are breaking apart and opening them up, and this was probably some form of lining inside the heart walls or whatever. You should see how I showed there's a thick wall, and then there's a thin wall. Those are the 90-degree angles that I showed. You got a thick one, and then you got the thin one. There's the right and the left ventricle. One of them pumps harder than the other. That's all it is. One of them has to be stronger. Now, then you get into this plumbing and all this business, and all these holes and all over that I showed up in Uluru. And then you get to the, which you can't see here, but well, maybe you can see it over here. There's the heartstrings and so forth are in there, all these different fibers. Now I'm going to show you an opal heart from Australia. All right, this is an opal heart, and the reason it's opal is because it petrified in blood until it became stable, and then once it dried out, it kept the colors of the transition metals that invade, because the blood is saturated with transition metals. And I've gone over and over this many times about the health of people, and they need these transition metals in your body, and the only way you can have these transition metals is if you have enzymes, and the only way you have the enzymes is if you have the bacteria, and the only way you have the bacteria is if your digestive system works. So I'm going to just stop it on that because I have a lot of videos on that. Alright, this is a heart right here. Now, you're going to notice there's those black and white dots. You see them? Black dot, white dot, black dot, white dot, all the way around. Now, the hearts have these structures. That 90-degree angle coming up with the thick line, it separates the two chambers in the heart, and one of them is a much stronger chamber and has a thicker wall, and the other one is the thinner one. Now, you can see here and there, there's places where stuff has, the tubing and so forth has eroded out of here, but that right there would have been a place where part of the plumbing entered into it, probably the aorta. But there are this, all of the structure of this is very, very similar to the structure of a luru when you understand. Now, this obviously didn't erode and wasn't saturated in blood the way a luru was, but it is what it is.